What's going on, Dogs fans? Big Dawg Brett, welcome back to the channel. Wanted to have a little conversation about the offense and the fans. Now, it seems to me there's a lot of people, and I do mean a lot, of Georgia fans that for whatever reason are criticizing other Georgia fans for criticizing the offense. Now, that just don't make sense. How can you criticize somebody else because they're criticizing somebody else? I mean, it's so hypocritical. It don't even compute. So I wanted to make this video to have a conversation to kind of, I don't know, not necessarily clear the air, but just kind of point out the obvious. Listen, I'm a diehard Georgia fan. I mean, I mean, I made this because I wanted one. I bought that, obviously, and I bought that over there. But try making one of these by hand. No, just regular old power tools. Try it sometime. See if you can do it. It takes a lot of dedication to do something like that. Now, it ain't perfect, but neither's our football team. So if I made this and somebody came up to me and they said, man, that looks pretty good, man. You got the colors in the right place. It's kind of the right spacing, but if somebody was critiquing it and I knew they were going to critique it, I wouldn't get mad if they told me, "Oh, this is not real." Doesn't match the perfect curve. You might want to look at that next time. Wouldn't be upset about it. What I would be upset about is if I was trying to make something that I was going to put on a national television show, and I put this on the wall and I said, there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing at all. That's perfect. That's a problem. And I think that's what a lot of Georgia fans are doing, is they're saying, hey, look, we are excited. We are happy that for 3 years in a row, we've won our division, the Eastern Division. We're super excited that we're in the college football playoff. We're excited that we're in the driver's seat to go to a national championship. We're even excited about how great the defense is playing. However, I think anybody has a reasonable argument if they stand up and they say, hey, this offense needs some work. I think it's reasonable for a Georgia fan to stand up and say, this offense looks bad. I would even think it to be reasonable if a Georgia fan was being honest with themselves, if they stood up and said, this Georgia offense looks like crap. Now, does that mean that the guy that said that is not a fan? No, it probably means that guy is just the biggest fan as anybody else, and that he cares and that he can objectively look at that football team and go, that don't look good. I mean, the head coach gets up there and blames the defense. We can't get tired in the fourth quarter. The other team's got the ball more than we do. We're punting it 5 or 6 times a game. We have essentially almost no offense. I mean, realistically, in my opinion, the reason the offense is scoring right now, it's kind of the law of averages. If we get the ball enough, we should be able to score. Our defense just happens to be good enough to allow that to happen. Now, I think that the fans that jump on here and say, you're not a real fan. Listen, I can promise you I'm a real fan. And I can promise you that people that know me will tell you the same thing. And I can absolutely promise you that I think our offense looks like crap. We've got some of the best running backs in the country. We've got the best offensive line I think I've ever seen us have. And I'm not trying to blame Jake Fromm. Please understand, I've been an advocate for Jake Fromm. And I've said that Jake Fromm I know he has the talent and ability set because I look at what he did in the Oklahoma game. But I don't think either the play calling's right, whether it's Kirby or whether it's Coley or whether it's Jake Fromm has regressed. I'm not sure what's going on. But I think anybody can stand up and say, hey, when Jake Fromm has roughly the same stats as Grayson Lambert, and by the way, if you don't know who that is, don't jump on me and tell me I'm not a real fan. If he's got the same stats as Grayson Lambert, I can promise you something is wrong with the offense. It just is. DeAndre Swift has been handed the ball more this year than he was all of last year. He has more yards right now. He had more yards before the Texas A&M game than he did all of last year, and that includes playing in the SEC championship game. And we've still got 2 games to play. We got Tech, and then we got the national SEC championship game. For him to already be that much further ahead, if you go back and you look at the last year, the carries were split pretty even between Elijah Holyfield and DeAndre Swift. Well, Brian Herrien was supposed to fill that role, at least on paper. But if you look at it, there is DeAndre Swift is the primary back, and Brian Herrien is the secondary back. And Herrien has roughly half, he has roughly half of the yards that DeAndre Swift does. Now, if that doesn't tell you something's wrong with the offense, and don't tell me Brian Herrien is not an outstanding player, because he is. He's been a producer for Georgia for 4 years now. So if you want to jump over here and say that there is a problem with the offense, I think that's a fair assessment. But I think if you're also one of those people that's jumping on other fans and saying you're not a real fan, there's something wrong with you. The fact that these fans care enough to criticize their own team, it's not an easy thing to do because you have to defend it. It's easy to say, "Oh, you're not a real fan. You don't, we're 11-1. We're going to be 12-1. We're whatever." At some point, you have to take an honest look at it. And if you think that UGA is going to win a national championship scoring 19 points a game with as much talent as we have, I don't think that that's going to be a probability. I think it's a possibility, but not a probability. Something's got to be fixed. Well, 2 things have to be fixed. The way these Georgia fans are treating each other and the way our offense is working. I try to get on here and be objective and be honest and upfront. But if you want an honest opinion from me, here's the problem. You hired James Coley as an offensive coordinator who has no business being an offensive coordinator. He certainly doesn't know how to coach Jake Fromm to make him better. There's last year, Jake Fromm had a pretty good year, but he wasn't killing it. This year, it seems like he's taking a step back. People want to make excuses for players dropping ball. Listen, guys drop balls every single year. And these quarterbacks for these other teams, they still seem to be able to produce points. So explain to me how other teams with less talented receivers, less talented linemen, less talented quarterbacks can score more points and get more yards than UGA. Explain that to me. Because apparently I ain't bright enough to figure that out on my own. And the fact that I sit here and have that question, it doesn't mean that I don't care about the team or I don't want the team to be successful, because I do. I really, really do. But something's got to change. And if it doesn't change, we in a world of hurt. We only scored, 19 points against Texas A&M? Hadn't scored over 30 points on but one team in the SEC this year? And you want to sit there and believe that UGA can win a national championship against a team like Ohio State if that's who it ends up being? Listen, Ohio State's got a really good defense as well. And they got a killer offense. Now, they didn't look quite as good against Penn State, but they still put a ton of points on the board against Penn State's defense. We got to step it up on offense. We got to. We got to find a way to get the ball to players that can make the plays. Yes, those players have to catch the ball. I get it. Jake Fromm's got to pay attention to when the ball's being snapped. He's got to decide on whether he wants to be Michael Jackson before the game starts or not, and then stick with that. Listen, you're not you're not 3 years deep into your college football career, and you're trying to decide on whether or not you should wear a glove. Take off the isotoners, Dan. I don't want to hear excuses about the weather. Other teams play in the weather. I don't want to hear excuses about how good the defense is. Other teams are playing defenses just like we are, and they're putting up boatloads of points. I don't want to hear excuses about how we're third in the third year SEC East. I don't want to hear all that stuff. I want to see a productive offense. What you see Kirby Smart say in a press conference is all coach speak. Every bit of it. You watch the little video snippets of how he actually interacts with his players, and you'll see a big difference. Anyway, that's all I got for today, guys. Thanks so much. Have a great day. God bless. Go Dogs.